Today we announced the findings of the Minneapolis Police Department's internal affairs investigation. Before I begin, I want to first acknowledge the devastating loss that left the Clark family without a son and brother. I did not want to talk publicly about this case until I met with the family, and I had that opportunity this afternoon. As a mother, I cannot imagine such a loss, as no parent should ever have to bury their child. It is also important for me to recognize that this incident has had a profound impact on our city's residents, communities, civic leaders, and our police officers. And finally, this has impacted two police officers who were faced with a situation most officers only think about and train for. Their actions have been put under the public microscope. They've been subjects of both state and federal investigations, and they've been reviewed by two of the top prosecutors in this region. The officers will not be criminally charged, and we have concluded there were no violations of MPD policy. The investigative standards were extremely high in both the BCA investigation and MPD's internal affairs investigation, and I have the utmost confidence in their findings. As you know, immediately after the incident, I requested the state's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to conduct a thorough and independent investigation into what happened during the early morning hours of November 15, 2015. There were two key factors that Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman clearly demonstrated in March as he announced criminal charges were not warranted against officers Mark Ringenberg and Dustin Schwarzy. Jamar Clark was not handcuffed, and the DNA evidence does show Clark grabbed Officer Ringenberg's holster and gun. I have concluded the use of deadly force in the line of duty was necessary to protect an officer from apparent death or great bodily harm. It is the same conclusion that was made by the county attorney. The U.S. Attorney's Office cited similar evidence in June while announcing the Justice Department found insufficient evidence to support federal criminal civil rights charges against the officers. In quoting the U.S. Attorney's Office, the evidence gathered in the BCA's investigation is insufficient to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the shooting was objectively unreasonable. Upon the conclusion of these two investigations, the Minneapolis Police Department was then tasked with conducting its own internal investigation for a use of force review and to look into whether the officers violated MPD policies on November 15th. The use of force review is extensive. Two investigators from the MPD Internal Affairs Unit were assigned to conduct it. The IA investigators reviewed all the evidence in the BCA criminal investigative file, including all videos, witness statements, police reports, and supplements, Minneapolis Emergency Communications Center records, and Hennepin Emergency Medical Services dispatch files. The investigators reviewed all aspects of the incident and evaluated the evidence against all potentially relevant MPD policies and procedures. In accordance with MPD procedure, after the investigators completed their investigation, the case was presented to the IA commander for review of completeness and accuracy of the investigation. Once approved by the IA commander, the case was then forwarded to the chief's office for review by a 4-person panel comprised of the assistant chief and 3 deputy chiefs. The review panel made a preliminary recommendation to me, and I made the final determination on this case. I have determined the takedown maneuver used by Officer Ringenberg was not a chokehold as described by others. Internal Affairs investigators found the officer grabbed the suspect around his upper chest. While this may not be a specific technique the MPD instructs, that does not mean it was unauthorized. The MPD teaches the ultimate purpose in using a takedown maneuver is to quickly bring a person to the ground. The ground is known as the most effective place to gain control of someone. The assertion that Officer Ringenberg used a takedown move learned in San Diego misconstrues Officer Ringenberg's statement to the BCA. The Internal Affairs investigators, much like county and federal attorneys, evaluated the use of force. The video images reflect the officer's statements that Officer Ringenberg had his back on top of the suspect as the 2 men fell to the ground. Officer Ringenberg can clearly be seen on video being pulled back down when he tried to get up and later twisting his duty belt back into position following the use of deadly force. Therefore, the use of deadly force was warranted given the fact that both officers feared for the loss of life based on the belief that Clark was either in possession of the officer's handgun or would imminently be in possession of the officer's handgun if not stopped immediately. DNA evidence also supports this assertion. I would also like to address the often cited time frame of 61 seconds. Every single day, police officers face quickly escalating situations where suspects refuse to comply with orders. In this case, despite being ordered to take his hands out of his pockets, Jamar Clark did not do so. These officers did not have the opportunity to negotiate, tactically withdraw, which is the same conclusion the county attorney issued. After an extensive review of this entire incident, I have concluded that these officers did not dictate the outcome of this incident. This was an outcome no one wanted. I fully understand that the impact of this incident has been devastating, first and foremost, for the Clark family. It has also had broader implications on this police department and the city it serves. In closing, I'd like to thank everyone for their patience. As the chief, it's been difficult for me to say very little while waiting for all of these investigations to conclude. After looking at all the evidence and all the verifiable facts in this case, I can say with absolute certainty that I support the actions of Officer Ringenberg and Schwarzy the morning of November 15th. We did not find any violation of MPD policy. Following this news conference, I will be meeting with community leaders to talk about my decision as we explore ways we can all move forward together in the coming weeks, months, and years. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mayor Hodges.
I'm grateful that the chief had the opportunity to walk through her decision and that will be making it available for the public to read through for themselves. I wanted to reiterate that we waited to make this announcement until Chief Harteau and Jamar Clark's family could meet, which happened just a few hours ago. I fully support the chief's determination in this case that Officers Schwarzy and Ringenberg did not violate city policies. I trust the thorough process that the department followed, and I trust Chief Harteau's judgment. I know her dedication to the safety and dignity of every person in this city and every officer in this department. This has been an especially painful time for Jamar Clark's family and friends. I cannot imagine their pain as they lost a son, a brother, a friend. I extend my condolences to all of them for their grief. This has also been a painful time for the two officers and their families. To them, I also offer my hope for healing. This has been a painful time for our entire community as well. I know that some will be angry about this decision and find it difficult to accept, and I get that. I also know that some will find relief in it, and I get that too. Chief Harteau and I are making ourselves available tonight on a conference call that anyone can join so that we can listen to whatever people want to say and whatever they want us to hear. Through this painful 11 months, we, the people of Minneapolis, have done what we do best. We held together. We kept talking to each other through anger, frustration, and fear. I thank all the community members and leaders, residents, demonstrators, and police officers who, in countless ways, kept the conversation going peacefully and respectfully and helped hold us together as a city and as a people. We can ask no less of ourselves now as together we continue to move forward with the challenging, uncomfortable, necessary work of transforming our police-community relationships to a new level of trust for the 21st century. I am proud that no city in America is working as hard on this transformation as we are, or putting more resources and sheer will behind it as we are. This is Minneapolis's strength, coming together as our best selves through our differences and our discomfort, and for the good of us all. Thank you.